Before we get into the trip wrap-up, let's do a little overview. We spent 2 weeks in Japan in mid-October of 2024. We flew from Toronto to Narita via Air Canada. It was a lovely 12-hour flight in economy. We visited Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Nara, a traditional Japanese inn, and Tokyo Disney Resort, sleeping in 6 different hotels along the way. "18 travel vlogs were created, or 403 minutes of content, and in this video, we'll be wrapping up our trip and answering your questions. Let's go. Let's get into it with a cost breakdown. So, Ryan, take it away.
All right, accounting with Ryan. Let's get into it. So the flights for the two of us to go round trip from Toronto to Tokyo, it was a direct flight both ways, and we flew in economy, just the cheapest seats that we could get, and we used Google Flight Alerts to watch for a little bit of a promo or discount. So it was $3,520 Canadian. Again, that's the both of us, all in, taxes, round trip, and that's about $2,500 American. Looking at the Disney portion of the trip, our vacation package, which gave us 2 nights at the Miracosta, as well as 3 park entry tickets each, 2 for Disneyland and 4 for Disney Sea. That was $3,192 Canadian, or about $2,300 American. 2 nights at the Disneyland Hotel outside of the vacation package, that was after our vacation package, that was $1,530 Canadian, or about $1,100 American. So that's, it was sort of like in the field of $750 per night Canadian. You could stay very close to Disney for much cheaper. For example, they have the Hotel My Stays My Hama, which is right across from the entry station. You can get in there for maybe 190 Canadian, or about 135 American per night. So you can do sort of, the equivalent of an offsite stay all the way up to like a Disney Deluxe. The Toy Story Hotel, for example, is more like a moderate, so it's a bit more a bit less expensive rather. We did have to purchase 2 Disney tickets because we went to Disneyland on our last day after our vacation package was over. So 2 adult tickets were $189 Canadian, or about $136 American. Our quick service meals, we ate a lot of quick service food. I averaged it out. So the average for the 2 of us to dine was about $23 Canadian, or $17 American. And, sometimes in there, I had a beer, for instance, for one of those meals. We had dessert as well. So it was not just like the bare minimum. We were like perfectly content for $23 Canadian average. In fact, our cheapest quick service meal, where again, we were both full and content, was $15 Canadian, like in total for the both of us, or about $11 American. Finally, for a non-Disney hotel, so not the Disney part of our trip at all, but just staying in Japan, whether it was in Tokyo, Kyoto, or anywhere else that we visited, we averaged around like 250 to 350 Canadian dollars per night, which is about 170 to 240 American a night. And I mean, you can spend plenty less or plenty more if you so desire. So there it is, lots of numbers, but a high level breakdown of the costs for our trip.
Awesome. So next up, we're going to talk about Tokyo Disney.
Woo! A topic we love.
Yes.
So getting into Tokyo Disney and some of the questions that you guys asked us first, I'll ask you one, Laura. What did you think of the food at Tokyo Disney, and what was the best and worst of it?
Yeah, so the food was awesome, I thought. Everything was great. Everything was really fresh and super tasty. So it's hard to pick a favorite, but there was coffee scented roast beef. There was some cheesy potato things that we had with some pizza, and we had those many times throughout the trip. And then there was the veggie burger at the Snuggly Duckling. Those were all kind of like standout. So though I would say things maybe kind of like look a little intimidating and like, ooh, like especially the Snuggly Duckling burger, everything was delicious.
Absolutely, you're making my mouth water. I'll hop in with a quick favorite, which was the pork tonkatsu curry. I loved that. That was a fantastic meal of, my favorite at Disney. And then one that was a bit weird or the worst. We wanted some vegetables, so we got what they call a salad in a cup, which is a common side order that you can get, and it was just not great. It was like mostly just corn in a cup. It was sort of strange.
Yeah, it was pretty disgusting, and even like the dressing that they used on it was not it for us. But anyways, on to the next question, which is how far in advance should you book, and how did you book everything?
Okay. Well, I'll say that I booked everything. We did it all ourselves. There was no like travel agent or anything like that. So, and if you're so inclined, we do have, I remember we filmed like a planning video beforehand where we got into some of these details. So it's in our Japan playlist. In a nutshell though, the first thing that we booked were the flights. I just wanted to have those, know that those were our dates. Like it's final, it's real, it's happening. That was about 7 months out. I probably had it on Google Flight Alerts for like 6 weeks before that. And then I was like, oh, this is the time to do it.
I remember when it came up and you phoned me and you're like, should we do it? I'm like, yep.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So yeah, it turned out to be about 7 months for the flights. Because in doing our research, we knew we wanted to splurge for a vacation package. We had already started watching those. The way they release those, at least at the time of filming, is they'll, so early on at the start of a month, they'll release like the block beginning 4 months ahead. So if we're filming this, say in late January, probably in early February, they'll release things like, here's the vacation packages available for the month of June or something like that. But I would just get familiar with the Tokyo Disney Resort website, and the vacation packages do sell out pretty quickly, so you want to be sort of ready to go with that.
I remember we kind of did like some tentative like bookings, because you can kind of run it through as if you're going to book it, like just to kind of get an idea for rooms, like looking at a lot of pictures and different options, because they have a lot of different room options. So kind of like do a practice run, like just one day hop on the website and just pretend to book it. When
it is time to book, you want to be ready. So even if you're planning a trip for the fall right now, just go look at whatever vacation packages are available right now, and get to the very last stage and then just, don't pay for it, cancel it. But you have to pick your ride times, like when you want to have breakfast, that sort of thing. So it is a lot of steps, so it's good to be familiar with.
Yeah.
The hotel in general, as I said, we had to stay a couple nights at the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel outside of the vacation package. That is, I believe, 4 months in advance to the day. So it's not like they release an entire month. It's just every day, they release, 4 months from that day. So I was up late with the time zone change to get that, because again, it goes pretty quickly. And tickets would be the last thing. They release those, I think, 60 days in advance. And again, it's like a rolling clock. If you are staying at a Tokyo Disney hotel, you are guaranteed entry to the park. So in theory, you could just buy them when you show up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was less of a panic for us. I did it, I think, like a month or so before we left. Just got the two that we needed outside of our vacation package.
That's a pretty cool perk, though. Like, to be guaranteed entry, they definitely don't do that in Walt Disney World. So that's pretty cool. And I guess with that, our next question is, how does Tokyo Disney compare to Disney World? Which do you prefer?
I don't know if we're going to answer this one like for real, but it is a great question. So I'm going to start off and we're going to sort of go back and forth a bit. One thing is, I'll say that Tokyo Disney Resort, it does feel like a bubble. Like it feels to me like a world like you get in Florida. By contrast, if you've been to Disneyland in California, and we love Disneyland, it doesn't have quite that same bubble effect. It's really just like the two parks separated by a concourse and then downtown Disney, and you can see all the other hotels that aren't Disney and everything. With Tokyo, it's a bit like Disney World. Once you set foot into the resort, you have the monorail line, you have the two parks, there's the 3 or 4 Disney hotels around the park, and they have their their sort of downtown Disney-like equivalent. And to me, it sort of felt like, yeah, you're in the bubble.
Yeah, you're in it. One other thing is that there was no rides down. So that is quite different than Disney World and Disneyland if we're comparing like American parks to Tokyo. There was one night, it was our one night in Fantasy Springs, and I think all 3
No,
rides.
it was just 2.
Oh, okay, I thought it was Frozen. 2 rides. So Peter Pan and Rapunzel went down like pretty much the same time, but it was very quick. Like it was probably 20-30 minutes and then everything was back up and running as normal. So that is definitely one good thing. And also everything on the rides worked 100% of the time. Like everything was working at all times. The animatronics, everything was good. So that was nice.
2 rides for like 20 minutes. That was the whole trip.
That was
the only
it.
time we saw an unplanned outage, something go down.
Yeah.
I found that the loading of the rides was super quick and efficient. Probably a few reasons for that, but it just, the lines moved really beautifully. At Haunted Mansion, it was almost a bit intimidating. It's like they have their treadmill set to like a light jog kind of thing. Like we have, in both of our days at Disneyland, we happened to film some of that queue, and you can see it. Like that video was not sped up. And again, like Laura said, is similar to the ride not going down. It didn't stop ever either, any of them that I can recall. Like you just had that uninterrupted, perfect ride experience.
People are they're just getting on. You're not stopping for anything. You just get on. Everybody's paying attention. It's a beautiful thing, really. The next thing is scents. So the scents that add to the immersive experience were top notch. So we have 4 examples written down. So there was the smell of bananas in the Sinbad ride, Sinbad's Voyage, and it's just like, wow, like so strong, so cool. And then honey on Pooh's Honey Hunt, that was really cool too. And then there was like a pine smell on the Frozen ride, I remember, and it just like, it really takes you further into the ride and just like, you feel like you're really there. And then just in Soaring in general, similar to Walt Disney World, but better.
And to close off, something that I noticed that was, I didn't know it was coming, actually. It was just such a nice surprise, was waving. What do I mean by that? It just seemed to be like the local custom. Like when your ride vehicle was about to take off, the cast member who's controlling all of that, they wave. Everybody on the ride waves back as well. And in particular, like if you were standing and you saw like a transportation boat or like one of the electric steamer railways go by, like everybody is waving at each other, the people on the ride to the people standing. When we were on the transit steamer line boat, whenever we saw people on shore, like we got into it, we were waving, they were waving back.
Yeah.
If you were on a ride and somebody else was on another ride and you could see each other, like you better believe you were like waving like wildly. And it was just so sweet and like genuine and sincere, even like teenagers and stuff. It wasn't like sarcastic or ironic waving or like, oh, we're just being like cool. It was really nice. It was really sweet.
Yeah. So, how cool was the Fairy Tinkerbell ride?
Yeah, the kiddie ride, so they say. I think that's terrible, actually, because, you know, stuff gets that reputation and it's not warranted. Like, everybody said Animal Kingdom is like a half-day park when it opened, and, it, you know, 20 years later, I feel like they're still getting over that a bit. So, I would just say it's a ride. Don't think of it as a kiddie ride. I found it super cute and entertaining. And you know what? Like, it was, depending how you even define a kiddie ride, like, there's a lot more motion and things happening than something with like Living with the Land at Epcot. Is that a kiddie ride? I loved it. It was super cute. Like the theming was amazing. It wasn't super long, but it was adorable. It was awesome.
And you should definitely ride it during the day and at night because you do get a little bit of a different experience. But I forget who we were watching too, and they said every theme park needs a ride like that where it's just kind of like, it's like a really good ride, and if it's somehow the only ride you get on that day because of crowds or something, like, it's still really good. Like, it's just like an easily accessible ride. It's like, okay, you're not going to be waiting like 90 minutes to ride this. I don't think that would ever happen, but like, it's super cool if it's like the only thing that you got to do kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with that.
So I have a question for you, Laura.
Okay, great.
What is Happy Entry? We heard about that in our videos. Can you explain it?
Yes. So, Happy Entry is something that you're gonna want to have if you can. So, Happy Entry is kind of like extra magic hours in Walt Disney World. So, you essentially get to enter the park 15 minutes early. And the beautiful thing about that is that you have a separate lineup. So, you get to avoid crowds that have been waiting for the regular line for many, many hours because lines in Tokyo are no joke. And you do obtain Happy Entry by having a Disney hotel reservation. So every morning that you're staying at a Disney hotel, you get the Happy Entry.
Yeah. Now, some don't offer, for instance, at least right now,
yes.
Disneyland Hotel. It gets you Happy Entry for the Disneyland Park, but right now they're not offering Happy Entry for the Disney Sea Park.
Right.
So we lucked out for our vacation package when we were staying at Miracosta. The vacation package doesn't necessarily come with the Happy Entry, but because we were staying there, we got Happy Entry so we could enter either Disneyland or Disney Sea Parks.
Yeah. So next up, how was it planning Fantasy Springs? Do you have to book a time slot to enter?
Yeah, so it's sort of complicated, to be honest. I have seen like people have flowcharts that they've designed to explain how to get into Happy Entry.
Not Happy Entry.
Sorry, to get into Fantasy Springs. Thank you. We took the easy way out with the vacation package at the time. On our middle day of the 3 days, we got to go to Disney Sea, and we got a special wristband which let us unlimited access to Fantasy Springs, and it was like an unlimited fast pass for the 4 attractions in Fantasy Springs. So, you can get in there other ways, like securing a standby pass or purchasing premier access for one of the rides. But everything is changing, I believe, in the spring, like April 1st, 2025. I think they're going to open it up more broadly.
It's kind of changed right now, too, in that it's their low season. So they have been opening up Fantasy Springs. It's like you can walk in here. You still need to obtain a premier pass or a standby.
Yeah, to
like
go
you
on
have
any
to
of
be
the
able
rides,
to secure one of those, but you can still just go in
check out
to the land and not do the rides.
And
so.
I mean, even if you didn't get to do any rides for some reason, it's still absolutely worthwhile to check out the land. But I would recommend, maybe finding like a local resource. TDR Explorer, he has a YouTube channel, that's the name of it, and he's Tokyo based and does incredible videos, and he'll keep everyone up to date with this.
Yeah, that's actually how we learned a lot about our trip to Tokyo Disney, was through his guidebooks. So you can purchase those too.
So, on to the final question of this section, but then we'll share a few thoughts. We had the great privilege of being able to stay at the Miracosta Hotel
Yeah.
at Disney Sea and the Disneyland Hotel at the Disneyland Park. Did you have a favorite?
I did. And that is Hotel Miracosta. I just love how over the top that one is. Like, the rooms, you just walk in and it's extremely gaudy, tacky, like, but it's just so good. Like, it's tacky in the best possible ways you could want for like a Disney hotel in Japan. So yeah, and then one other reason I really like that is, again, to do with the happy entry. So when staying at Hotel Miracosta, that's how you get happy entry to Tokyo Disney Sea. And Tokyo Disney Sea is the ultimate best theme park. So that is why I like Miracosta.
Awesome. I'll answer as well. So Miracosta was my favorite too. Even just something about, like, you know, technically we're sleeping in a theme park. That's really cool. You don't get to say that all the time. You know, obviously the Fantasy Springs Hotel, it's also in Disney Sea. You can say the same sort of thing. We, you know, we weren't sort of targeting that one, but we've seen some videos since being home. If we go again, that might be one to check out for sure. Some neat things though about the Disneyland Hotel, and this was probably the hardest question in this whole list, is picking a favorite, because they both, like, I flip-flop depending on the day kind of thing, but so we love the Disneyland Hotel. It's super gorgeous from the outside, especially when you're looking at it from the Disneyland park. It's just magnificent. And it's really unique too that it has a convenience store on site. So that's one great plus and feature for the Disneyland Hotel that Miracosta doesn't have, because it was great after the long park day when we were there to just get a little snack and take it up to our room.
Now I think technically, can you enter the Disneyland Hotel without a reservation there? Because some of the hotels in Japan, they're a bit like, you can't go in, like, especially Fantasy Springs, like, you can't even approach the entrance if you don't have some sort of hotel reservation for that one.
Yeah,
but I think Disneyland's more flexible, right?
Yeah, at Disneyland
technically you could pop in there, go to the conveni, and then take the monorail around back to your hotel, but that was just convenient for Disneyland.
No, we didn't talk about this, like, so we shared our favorite, but it was a hard choice. It's Miracosta for the both of us between the two. But I also think it maybe depends where you're planning to spend your park time, or if you're willing to hotel switch. Because I would, like, in a perfect world, if we were to go back, I'd want to stay at the Disneyland Hotel when we're going to Disneyland, and I'd want to stay at Miracosta, or maybe try Fantasy Springs for all the days we'd want to be at Disney Sea, which would probably be like a lot of days.
Yeah, for sure. Tokyo Disney Sea is greater than Tokyo Disneyland.
Yeah. So getting into just sharing some general thoughts that we had. Do you want to kick us off, Laura?
Yeah, so we visited Tokyo Disney during Halloween season, which we were, I think, a little bit skeptical about, but that's just how the timing fell. We weren't sure about seeing a new park during Halloween time, but anyways, if you get the opportunity to go during Halloween, I definitely recommend it, because looking at all the other guests and their outfits was like such an added bonus for us. I didn't expect that at all, and I didn't know that was something we would get to enjoy, but just seeing the amount of costumes and effort that everybody put in, like, it was absolutely insane. Like, the cosplaying and the princess dresses, like, there was princesses dressed up better than the authentic Disney park princess, like, to be honest, and they were just guests to the park that day, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, wearing these beautiful, like, completely custom bespoke dresses. It was something to see. Something else that stands out for me is just in general how orderly everything was. And this is true for the rest of Japan as well, outside of Disney, but definitely noticed it in Disney. Like, just everyone is very respectful of one another. Everybody really just sort of wants to follow the rules, and it's nice when everybody sort of is doing that, because it just makes for a better collective experience for everyone there. So some simple examples were just things like, people were super on the ball about taking off their ears at shows or even on some attractions to like not obstruct the view of anyone else. One thing that really impressed me was with our happy entry into the Disneyland park, we got to go through like a dedicated line, and the lines we've talked about that, they're no joke. So, the park's opening at 9. They'll start to let people in at 8:30, which means happy entry is 8:15. But people are getting in line at 6 in the morning. So we come for our happy entry at 8:15. We go through this dedicated line, and there's this wide courtyard, very similar to going into Magic Kingdom in Florida, and it's like people have been through security, but they haven't been through the tickets yet, and it's maybe like 100 meters or 100 yards from where they're all just standing wide, because you can picture all like the ticket carousels, and we just sort of get to walk up the middle of that with our happy entry passes, but there was no obstruction, there was no rope, there was no physical barrier whatsoever holding the people back. It was just the cast member would have told them like, please wait here.
Well, there's like a little line on the ground.
Yeah, I guess literally.
It's just a line. That's just where you stop.
Yeah.
And
in like
everybody does that.
What am I trying to say? Like in the interlock kind of thing. Like, yeah, I guess that was it. It was just like, oh, it's sort of gray there instead of red. And so just like, please stop here. Everybody stops there, and that's it. Like, I feel like people would get trampled or something. There'd be like a riot at some other parks when they said like, okay, it's open. But no, just everyone so calm and orderly.
Exactly. And then the last thing is we found there was no price gouging, which was just, I don't know, it's just nice. Obviously, it's more fun to enjoy meals when you haven't like paid like $50 for something that's not worth that much. So yeah, no price gouging again inside Disney and outside. In Japan in general, everything was affordable. Yeah, vending machines. You can grab a bottle of water for, I think it was like what, $1.50, $2. Like again, it's so reasonable. Like here in Canada, it's like you go out somewhere, you find a vending machine, it's like, oh wow, it's $6 for that water. Like great, like it only costs like 10 cents or something. So that was really nice. And the merchandise too. Merchandise was very affordable, and like even without our good conversion rate, like our dollar's pretty good right now, or pretty high. Is that how you say that?
It's more the Japanese yen is not so great right now, but yeah, same sort of outcome.
Yeah, so merch was very affordable. I don't remember like exactly how much the ears were, but like I think like in the US, Disney park ears are probably now like, I want to say $39.99. I could be wrong, like, but
yeah, so they could have been like 2,000 or 2,500 yen maybe, which might be like.
But no, I think they're like 1,500 yen. Like,
oh wow!
Like
so
I think they're like
even like
really low.
$15 to $20 Canadian and less American then.
And then like an American pair of ears is like $50 by the time you convert it and stuff. So anyways, overall, that was a really nice part.
Yeah.
So
one other thing I just want to add quickly, it sort of goes back to the how does it compare to Disney World? Do you have a favorite? Disney Sea is the best park that I've ever been to. So that's my favorite easily. Yeah. Will we go back to Disney World? Like, yeah, absolutely. We'll be back there. Will we go back to Tokyo Disney Resort? Yeah, I think absolutely we'll be back there too. Yeah. The one thing, I just don't want to always sound like I'm knocking Disney World. I think one thing that still stands very unique for Disney World is it's like if you had 2 weeks and you wanted to just go to like a Disney park and spend all 2 weeks there, Disney World is like the place to do that just because of the sheer size, number of individual parks, number of resorts. Like you could do it without getting bored, and that's one thing I'll say for Disney World.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, Tokyo Disney Sea is 100% like the most amazing park. And I think you said it right. This morning we were watching a video that somebody had gone on a trip there, and you said that you're not normally like this at Disney, but you would be 100% fine not doing any rides at Tokyo Disney Sea and just walking around and looking at all the details and the little nooks and crannies and kind of all the different areas to explore. So that is pretty telling of how awesome it is, because you can pretty much go there and have an amazing time without doing any attractions.
Yeah, the attractions
Like-
are great too. I'm not saying I want to
No.
do that, but like I would be like if it was just like you can't go on anything today. Okay, great. Like I'm still gonna have an amazing day.
Yeah.
So that was that was a look at I guess our wrapping up and answering your questions about the Disney experience in Japan. So now we're gonna shift and talk a bit about Japan in general. All right, so one of the questions that we received about Japan in general is the language barrier. What difficulties did the language barrier cause? And did you get to speak any Japanese? Because someone was studying a bit of Japanese.
Yes, and I still am. But yeah, so there was no real issues with the language barrier. Like, sure, like, yeah, they speak Japanese, we don't, but we never came across anything that caused, like, problems or didn't allow us to do anything. Most people spoke a little bit of English, like, when we were checking in at hotels. That was usually quite pleasant. Like, you're not really having like a conversation or anything like outside of like it's just down to business, like you can converse that way, but that was great. And there was just one issue the one day with my Suica card, which is the little card you get for the trains. So we had money on that, and I guess maybe I didn't like exit properly or it didn't register properly the night before. So then the next day when we went to use it, it was like not letting me go through. And we tried to ask one train worker for help, but he was just speaking in Japanese. So then we tried Google Translate. I spoke into my phone so it would translate. But anyways, it wasn't working out. So we just kind of like, arigato gozaimasu, and then walk away kind of thing. And then we were able to find somebody who wasn't exactly excited to speak to us English looking folk. He was kind of like ignoring us at first, like, okay, I hope they just walk away. But his English was actually really good and it was able to get resolved. So overall, no real issues. And unfortunately, I didn't speak much Japanese. It's very hard, like learning off of Duolingo where you can kind of like repeat. You can slow it down and listen again kind of thing. There was a funny meme actually that it's like the nodding dog, and they're at the konbini in Japan, and just like essentially like I feel like Duolingo let me down because all I can say is arigato and hi.
Yeah, it's like thank you and yes.
So that's how I felt.
I didn't really encounter or feel there was a big language barrier either. I'd sort of break it down into categories. So like entertainment or like a Disney, it really was a non-issue. All the cast members or the cast members that you encounter as the general public seem to have some English. It's also amazing, like just hand gestures and things like that, like which row you're in, they're always like flashing like, oh, second row, or like fourth row on the ride, or eighth row. Like it was,
they do a lot to support English speaking tourists, or even any language.
Like it's universal, and I think you forget that, especially if you haven't traveled to a country where they speak a different language necessarily. Like I get language barrier is something people are very nervous about, but you'd be surprised how much nonverbal communication you can do. Mm-hmm. Like even just encountering local people. We shared a story about just taking a picture with like a Japanese family, and just between like showing each other pictures of like a pin collection and like just nonverbal cues and nodding and like pointing and like picture like we had a great interaction,
especially like at Disney too. Like you're all there, you all have that common like common interest.
And some of the rides, like where the music was all in Japanese, sure, you recognize those tunes. I know the words in English. Sometimes it's a bit of an earworm, like it gets stuck in my head. So I actually liked it. It made me appreciate the beauty of the music itself in a whole different way when I couldn't like understand the words because they were in Japanese. As far as practical and navigation, with stuff like Google Maps these days, like it was just not an issue. It was really easy. The way finding and like the signs all have English fortunately, so we're, being English speakers, really lucky that way.
And a lot of menus too, like they have a
Pictures.
Japanese menu, but they have an English menu. Like a lot of places, even walking by, they have both kind of outside their door, so you can.
And even if
Get
they
a
didn't
good
have the
idea.
English one, a lot of them, it just seemed to be a Japanese thing. They have like a picture of every menu
Oh
item.
well, and the little like
Yeah, plastic representations, like plastic models of what the meal is. So just between like pointing and like one of those, like me point, like it works. But it just, don't get frustrated, obviously. Like be polite, be nice, smile. That always goes a long way. Like we know how to say sorry and please and thank you in Japanese. One phrase that Laura taught me, that's I'll end, but I'm like, I just need a few phrases, and it's like when I find that one that works, I'm just gonna like milk it for all it's worth. So that is
you did.
Totemo kirei desu. It is very beautiful here. Totemo kirei desu.
So, and the interesting thing is that kirei is, so Duolingo first taught me that kirei meant clean, and that's all I knew it as. But then eventually, as I'm progressing through Duolingo, it taught me that it also meant beautiful, pretty, and it's like, wow, that really like.
That's very telling
That's
of
the
Japan.
culture. Like,
yeah.
if it's
the word
clean,
for
it's beautiful, pretty, like, just really cool.
Clean is beautiful, beautiful is clean, and that's why they have the same word. But yeah, that would get a great reaction out of people. Just letting them know that we appreciate their beautiful country, and we're thankful that they're sharing it.
And they
with
were
us.
thankful whenever you did that as well. They were
Yeah.
like very floored. It seemed like that
Yeah.
we knew that.
Yeah, more than just like the please and thank you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there you go. So, I don't know how to segue into this question, but it came up in every hotel. Laura, will you be buying a bidet now?
100% yes. Next question.
Okay. No, is there anything more you want to say on that though, or just
No.
Okay.
Yes, I'm buying a bidet.
Bidet all day.
Okay, I could say more about it. Like, no, it's like too much information. But yeah, like you go in somewhere, it's a little bit chilly, but you sit down on the toilet seat and it's warm. And at first I was like, oh dang, that's kind of gross.
It's a bit
But
off-putting.
I got used to that. Like coming home, it was like, oh, this sucks, man. Like, so yeah, 100% yes.
Okay. So, we talked about this a bit for the Disney parks, but in general, what was the best meal you ate in Japan, if you can pick one?
I can't pick one. I'll focus on 3, but again, like everything was just so good. Like even looking back, like going to the McDonald's, like everything was like fresh and assembled nicely and just like really nice. Anyways, 3 of them. So the first time we went to Conveyor Belt Sushi in Shibuya. It was a little bit of like I don't believe it was a chain. It was just like a smaller location. That was great. Everything was delicious. It was a fun experience. And then there was Dragon Burger. That was like, I needed that. I needed that day. That was so good. And then at the end of the trip, we had ramen at the airport. And that was so frigging delicious and flavorful. And just, again, like you go to the airport in Toronto, you're like, okay, I guess I have to eat here. Like, and it's just not enjoyable. Like nothing is ever good. Like it just sucks, all of it. But like Japan, between the airports, the stations, like we ate so well. Anyways, what about you?
Yeah, I loved that Ryokan experience when we stayed the night at the traditional Japanese inn, because we had the kaiseki or multi-course dinner. I can't say that I loved absolutely every single thing that I ate, but it was maybe like 10 or 11 or 12 courses, and sometimes the courses had 3 or 4 unique dishes, so we got to try a whole lot of stuff. Didn't know what half of it was, to be honest, but I loved like probably 70% of it, which I was thrilled by, and just it's a really unique, special, cool experience. So that part of it as well. Like Laura said, the conveyor belt sushi in Shibuya, also the takeout sushi that we got a few times from Kyoto Station was like just out of this world, top notch,
So
good,
good.
great value too.
And they say they tuck a little ice pack in the bag of sushi, which is just so like
Smart.
it's so clever. So
Yeah, everything is so well thought out. Finally, for me, it was probably also at Kyoto Station, come to think of it, which I know it sounds bizarre until you're there, until you see like, oh, Kyoto Station is like, has 2 hotels in it, it's 11 stories tall, it has a full-size mall attached to it, there's probably like 100 restaurants there, and it's
my
a
gosh.
popular place to go. But we had this we had a lot a fair bit of ramen on the trip, just trying different varieties of it. We wish we showed you more too. We didn't actually film a lot of our food because the experiences were just like so sort of quick in and out. Like sometimes you pay up front too, which was nice because it wasn't like an eating trip for us. We wanted to be out there seeing all the sights, so like we appreciated the efficiency. But yeah, they had this like more like the ramen, instead of like a soup broth, it was more like a curry, and mine was really spicy. I loved it.
yeah, that was a good meal. That was very good. So, next question. Did you sleep well?
Yes. Next question. Try that again. No, they I mean, typically like fairly firm mattresses. We slept apart, I feel like probably for half the trip, because the Disney hotels, it was more popular to just have 2 twin beds. That way in the Ryokan too.
I kind of like that, to be honest. I don't know. It was...
Was that a question?
No, but like it was just nice. Like, you know, like, I don't know, at the end of a park day, like you're just like, like, okay, it's only a twin bed, like you're not like stretching out on a king, but like it's just like, okay, I have the whole thing to myself, like you can toss and turn and get comfortable and not worry about disturbing you. And the mattresses, at first I was like, oh, I'm like a little bit worried about this, but I didn't have any like problems with headaches or soreness, and we were walking like a lot, so I was kind of surprised. So I think somehow I got to figure out how to import a Japanese mattress and a Japanese hairdryer. That wasn't the question either, but Japanese hairdryers, yes. I wish I bought one. We saw many for sale at the Don Quixote, but I didn't. So anyways.
Gotta go back to get Laura a hairdryer and a mattress.
True.
We'll figure it out. So, another question, changing gears a bit. What is your biggest tip about traveling to Japan? Something that you wish you knew before you went?
Yeah, so I will focus on a Disney tip that I have, and then Ryan's going to talk about Japan in general. So for Disney, we kind of learned this the hard way, but we figured it out anyways. There's enough options, but if you're going to Disney, make sure you mobile order what you want for your time slot early in the day. Don't get to 12 o'clock and be like, okay, now I'm going to mobile order for 1 o'clock, because it's probably not available. Your next time slot might be 3 o'clock. So it's, I don't know if it's busier than Walt Disney World or if more people order or whatever, but just mobile order earlier in the day for 11:30, 12, then you do the whole thing where like you say you're here and then they start making it, so it's not like it's sitting waiting, like just do it.
Yeah, if you can plan in advance, you won't waste time. You don't have to mobile order, you can stand in line, but at peak meal times, some of those lines are like half an hour to an hour, so just for quick service.
Yeah.
My tip, Japan in general, sort of struggled here, and I don't mean for this to sound arrogant, but like I love doing trip research, so I think for the amount of research that I did ahead of time for this, like I wasn't surprised by too much. But one thing that is called out is like there's not garbage cans frequently around. It's actually not really a problem in the Disney parks in Japan, but outside of that, it's not. So even if you're at like a food stall, it's customary you sort of eat your food at that same stall and they'll take your garbage. You're not really out walking and eating as you walk, which is actually nice. That goes back to the whole like respect culture and looking out for one another. Nobody's like inconveniencing anybody else or eating in public spaces. It's sort of nice.
Yeah.
But
even if you're walking around with kind of like almost like a coffee cup, like an iced coffee cup, call it, and then like you're like, okay, I'm all done now, like good luck finding a place to put it. They do have recycling bins around some of the vending machines, but those are strictly, they're sized for a bottle. Like you can't fit one of those iced coffee cups up like in it. It's kind of like a fancy slot, like, so really it's just meant for bottles.
So they're really not all over the place, but you can seek them out, and you know, we did find them, but it was like, yeah, you might want to carry an extra little like sealable bag to just you know, take your garbage with you until you're back at your hotel, or you find like a, you know, a nice restroom or something that has some. So yeah,
because it was a little bit challenging, so
yes,
it's good to take note of that.
So those were the questions we received about Japan. Now just a few general thoughts, wrapping things up. So one was just really can't say enough how easy it was to sort out transportation and like using public transit. And that was thanks to Google Maps, really. It was so slick as far as if you were out in the middle of a park, it's like, okay, here's the way that you want to start walking to exit the park to come out close to that station. When you go into the station, you're looking for this particular subway line. They're often color-coded. It'll have a number. So, you know, go down to this platform to get on this line going in this direction. It tells you which car to get on because it knows where you want to get off and where the exit will be like closest to which particular car. So it was just incredible. It was like foolproof, really. And then just the trains, like the subways are so frequent as well that if, you know, they say don't run for one because like the next one will be there in 4 minutes, so
or less.
Yeah, or less. And it just trustworthy and efficient too. Things were so on time. I'll never be able to say enough how getting from Kyoto to Tokyo on the Shinkansen or bullet train, it takes like 2 hours and 12 minutes, and that's exactly what it takes. And that's like going, you know, 300 miles or 450 kilometers. So it's no small distance. Yeah. And it's just so efficient. Like the train stops at the platform for maybe 90 seconds. So you're on and off super quickly. And there's a train doing that route like every 8 minutes. It's just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah. And then, so what did I write down? So I've got a hodgepodge here. So Japan in general, so clean, so respectful. You're on the train, nobody's pumping their loud beats next to you, swearing at their mom on their phone, like, I just picture like subways in Toronto and you've got it all. Like, anyways, it's not like that. Everybody's just minding their own business, standing there. You can be jammed in like sardines and it's just a very peaceful experience. One thing that stood out to me was that people literally save spots at Disney and outside of Disney with purses, backpacks. They just put those down, they walk away. Nobody touches them. Like, how does that happen? The bowing on the bullet train, that was super cool to see. The one woman was very, very into it. So she walked through the aisle from behind us to the front of the little train car, and then she turned around and she bowed to us as if to say like, thank you, sorry for interrupting your experience, and thank you for letting me pass, kind of thing. Just really cool. And then just in the city streets in general, like the one thing that stood out to me is just how quiet it is. The vehicles are quiet. Again, there's no loud music coming from the cars. Nobody's like, we might have seen like 1 or 2 vehicles that were kind of like souped up with the revving and whatever, and like motorcycles were kind of loud, but that wasn't very common. So yeah, just in general, like being in Japan, outside walking the streets, like nobody's honking, scaring the shit out of you. Like in Toronto, everybody's like beeping and honking and yelling, and just so lovely. I can't say enough about it.
Being packed like a sardine in a subway car and being able to hear a pin drop, and just as well with the traffic. I didn't do any driving over there. That would be cool. Different side of the car, different side of the road though. But everybody signaled too. I noticed that much. So kudos to them for that. But
again, it works. If everybody does it, it works. And like, the world can be a better place. Honestly, coming back to Canada, like if we could just start somewhere, like, yeah, like it works. It doesn't have to be horrible. Like, we can all just work together. So anyways, Japan.
For the win. So I think that was a great way to sort of wrap that up. And then we just have a couple really general questions that we received. So Laura, for you, this was your first time, I guess, traveling internationally. Or I mean, we're Canadian, so America is technically international to us. But like first big trip, first trip to a place where they don't predominantly speak English. First time crossing an ocean is the expression I always used. So would you do it again? Would you go to a different new country?
Yes, 100% yes. Next question.
All right.
Where to next? And when's the next trip back to Japan? Because as our friend pointed out, there's never just one time. So
yeah. I think it's came through pretty clearly that both of us had a wonderful time and really enjoyed our experience. So as far as travel plans for 2025, what kind of YouTuber would I be if I just told you all the answers right now? So I guess I'll have to say stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh.
No, we're so not like that.
But seriously though,
yeah,
just do it.
Mean, we wouldn't mind.
Stay tuned. We've got some fun things for you.
Yeah, I think there'll be 2 separate things in 2025. So 2 things, maybe like a week in duration each. And
maybe 3 if I
for
have my way.
Oh wow, okay. Maybe for
we gotta see.
Maybe for a hint though, I'll say nothing that we're thinking about or planning right now. Not Japan and not America in 2025.
Ooh. All right. Anyways, and yeah, in 2026, I am 100% going back to Japan.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. So that's our trip announcement right now. 2026. We don't know when, but it'll probably be, I would aim to go back to Japan in late October. That was really great timing for weather-wise, and now that I don't work for the school board any longer, I probably will never travel in the summer again because it's hot AF everywhere, and it's hot here, so why not just go outside and enjoy it? So Japan 2026.
Heard it here first.
Maybe it'll be 3 weeks long. Who knows?
I mean, there's a lot we would want to do again, but there's so much more to see. Like, we barely scratched the surface.
I'm already planning it. There's already many, many documents in my phone about our future Japan trip. So,
wow.
Overall, that's a wrap on this video. As you can tell, we love Japan. It was amazing. Disney, Japan in general, so much fun.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for following along. I think our Japan videos are what got us to 1,000 subscribers. We had quite a big bump from that first travel day video. That's our highest viewed video somehow. So yeah,
we thought all the vlogs got sort of better from there. So yeah. I wish everybody that checked that out if they gave us a second chance. But
anyways,
thanks anyhow.
Thank you all for following along and commenting, and just hopefully you guys enjoyed, because I know like we look forward to kind of sitting down and rewatching all these vlogs, because that was really I'm just really proud of them. I think they turned out really well. So yeah, overall, really great trip. And I don't know how to end this.
Yeah, I'm.
Let us know in the comment down below, when are you going to Japan? Because you gotta go. You gotta just go.
Yeah, that's I guess I've said this in a video before, so I won't go deeply into it again. But I just liked as an analogy so much, thinking of Disney Sea in particular. So from the Disney angle, like Disney Sea is the best park I've been to ever by far. I don't see how it could be surpassed or topped. And then Japan as a country, as a destination, everything that we did outside of Disney as well, the beautiful history and landmarks that we got to walk through, the whole experience. If you're into travel and you've not been, if you're curious about it and maybe you're a little bit intimidated, I would just so highly recommend that that you make the effort. I was pretty thoughtful in terms of, I think it was like a great first international choice for Laura. It has a lot going for it, with just like the safety, the ease, the respect. It's like a developed nation. There's just a lot you don't have to worry about in Japan, so it's a great way to sort of get out there and give it a chance.
And I will say, I think throughout our time in like my life, I've been really like nervous about, like, I'm not a nervous flyer. Now that we've done it so much, like, I don't care anymore. I didn't used to love like takeoff and landing kind of thing. I always would like grip Brian's arm and be like, oh my God. But anyways.
And now she wants separate twin beds.
Yeah. No, the 12-hour flight, 12, 13 hour, whatever, it really wasn't that bad, I will say. Like, between having the noise canceling headphones, I would say that is a must, because if there's crying babies on there, you're gonna want to be able to block that out, because they're not gonna stop.
Yeah.
Like, but there was food available, there was always water available, like just some things that I was like nervous about
turned out to be a non-issue.
Turned out to be fine. Like, it was easy to just get up and walk around. I think we were probably lucky it wasn't very turbulent for the flight there. On the way back, it was a little bit more turbulent, but it was still fine. Like, it kind of would chill out and then you could get up and walk around and whatever. So yeah, just overall, if you're nervous about the flight, just give it a try.
Yeah,
whatever.
If you have any inclination or desire to check it out, would definitely encourage you to do it, because I'm so confident that you would have the tremendous magical kind of experience that we did.
Yes. So, thank you guys for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to us ramble on about this trip, but we just loved it so much. So that brings us to the end of today's video, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Sayonara.